Today on the show, strategy plus action equals being open for second chances. This show is powered by Black Ginger. If you'd like to shorten your sales cycle and build a foundation that makes all of your other sales and marketing initiatives better, reach out to us on LinkedIn. You know, these days, the words vulnerability and authentic, they get thrown around like buzzwords. And a lot of times we lose sight of how important the actual meaning behind each one really is. Our guest on the show today was really the motivation behind doing this entire episode and talking around this subject. Cheri Garcia is the epitome of how someone not only allows herself to be vulnerable by sharing her journey, but she weaves this idea really throughout her personal life, her business, and for the benefit of others. She's an inventor, a PR specialist, a strong entrepreneur, and a successful consultant, among many other things. Cheri Garcia, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Cheri, welcome to the show.
Hi, Johnathan.
Hey.
And I'm so glad you're here. We really wanted to have this topic. This topic was inspired by you, by seeing your post on LinkedIn so much. I mean, I know you and I have known each other a bit, for a couple of years, back and forth, especially City Central time through there a little bit. And, following you since then and seeing this journey and that content, I really wanted to talk about this topic, and you're the perfect person to do it because you've been so amazing at sharing your story. And this topic goes so far beyond, one particular way of being vulnerable. It's so much bigger than that. So it applies to so many different people. You've done an amazing job as an entrepreneur while going through so much. And it's so important to share all of that. So thank you for being on. Tell me a little bit about that journey up to Cornbread Hustle and part of what you've been vulnerable about recently.
Yes, absolutely. I will start by telling you guys that vulnerability saved my life. And a lot of times we want to use these terms and throw them around for a strategy for our business. And I would say that your business strategy and your transparency and being genuine can be a result of vulnerability, which will serve yourself and serve others. So a lot of times, and I'm guilty of it as well, before I got sober and before I started living an authentic life, I did have that strategy of being, if you have to put the word strategy and genuine in the same sentence, then you probably aren't being authentic, right?
Warning sign number one, right?
Yeah. Can you imagine being like in a meeting with your board of directors and you're like, all right, let's come up with a strategy of being authentic, everyone.
And it happens. That conversation happens. Yeah.
I know it has to happen. Yeah, that's crazy. But honestly, like, I would say a lot of times when authenticity is usually not planned, it's usually either for a purpose or on accident. And that's how it happened for me. So I am the founder of a second chance staffing agency called Cornbread Hustle, but it all began not even close to what it ended up to be. I was aspiring to be a news reporter. I wanted to be an anchor on CNN. It worked really well for my egotistical, prideful self, that my attention-seeking self really wanted to just be the prettiest, be the best, and be on TV. And, as time went on, things changed. I did get clean from methamphetamines, which is a very powerful drug that destroys a lot of lives. I got addicted to that in high school, and I was addicted to it for 2 years. Getting off of that drug, I went back to what I wanted to do, which was, I want to be a news reporter. So I traded meth addiction for success. And it worked for me for a while. Entrepreneurship, as you guys know, is a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows. That's how drug addiction is. And it's a lot of chaos. It's a lot of drama, or it can be, especially if you're a business owner like me. And so that filled that void of that chaos and that drama and the highs and the lows that I was missing. So I instantly went from drug addiction to methamphetamines to I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to invent a product. I'm going to go be this news anchor. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to prove to everybody that I'm awesome. And I'm going to keep going and keep going. It's never going to be enough. And I had a void still, right? And that void, I ended up filling up with alcohol. So not only, first I traded meth for entrepreneurship and success and finding my worth in everything else besides how God saw me. And what people thought of me. And then when that didn't work anymore, I needed to escape myself again. I couldn't be in that body of somebody that's never enough for the people who think whatever of me. That's my whole
Where do you think that void came from?
That's a great question. What did that void come from? Well, first of all, for me, and not everybody who watches this is a believer, and I understand that. So I'm never a person that will tell you, hey, you need God to get sober, or here, listen to this scripture.
Sure.
For me, though, I believe that anytime we're feeling a void, that's a void that our higher power can fill. Like when you know all your worth is connected to your higher power, that fills the void, right? And so to put it on a less spiritual basis, I would say just from a very young age, I felt like I needed to earn approval or love, and not by the fault of my parents, probably more by the fault of just how I felt about myself and feeling like I needed to be great to be loved. Again, my whole the root of all of my issues today is feeling not enough. I'm sure I could peel back the onion and really figure out where that really stems from. But if I did that, then I'd end up bringing other people into the picture, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to accept full responsibility and say that I just always strived for more, and it was never enough. And there was a void. And, I then started thinking, and this is where it can get dangerous on the whole strategy of being authentic. Because remember, I did that. I'm here speaking to you as a reformed, fake, authentic person. I was the one that was like, hey, everybody, I'm not a meth addict anymore, and I have my life all together. I'm an inventor. I'm successful. Hey, hello, I'm successful. Everybody, look how successful I am, and I'm going to go fix other people. And you know what? I'm going to pretend to care about them, but I'm going to make them my projects, and I'm just going to fix them. Right? Did I say that? Was I authentic about it? No, because I wasn't even authentic with myself. And that's the hard thing is to understand is it's difficult to be authentic with the world if you're lying to yourself. The first person you have to be authentic to is yourself. And so I had to get authentic with myself and say, okay, what is success? Am I successful? Am I helping these people? Yes, I was. I was helping people get jobs. I did start a staffing agency for second chances. I used my entrepreneurial skills and talents to serve others. And those people are still doing great today. And I did a lot of great things. However, I was not taking care of myself. I was pouring into other people and then filling myself back up with alcohol, justifying and convincing to myself that this is the life of an entrepreneur and this is just the way it is. I exist to serve others, and the end. So, yeah. So I ended up getting a DWI. 3 years ago. I got a DWI as the founder of a staffing agency for second chances. And I'm sitting in the back of a cop car handcuffed, and I'm like, oh, look at you, Cheri, all Miss So Successful, helping all these people, but you're in handcuffs. And I kid you not, I remember being I was so drunk, I will tell you that the next day, I looked for my car. It was like, dude, where's my car? I looked for my car the whole next day in the wrong city. So that means I was dangerously driving, and I could have had a much different ending. I could have been in prison for manslaughter, right? For DWI, causing bodily harm. I could be in prison right now. So as you can imagine, running the staffing agency for second chances and getting on probation and going through the motions and having that realization made me even more passionate about helping people who need a second chance, because I'm like, I wasn't a bad person. I set out to help other people. I didn't have a bad moral code. I wanted to do better, but I didn't know how to be honest and authentic with myself. So my fears, my little girl inside of me, and my coping mechanisms was showing out to the world in a way that God doesn't want me to represent myself as. So a year goes by. I continue to drink. I continue to justify, hey, you know what? Everybody drinks and drives. I just happen to be caught. I just happen to run this staffing agency for second chances. And it just, it wasn't until a year of I didn't want to be authentic. I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to tell anybody I was struggling with alcoholism, because if I tell someone, they may hold me accountable. But if I look back in all my journals for 5 years, I secretly wrote that I wish I could stop drinking. I wish I could stop drinking for 5 whole years. I was counting my drinks. I was trying to control my drinking. I was making up excuses for why the night didn't go how it should go. I always told my business partners or friends, I'm just going to have a couple tonight. Oh man, I bet they rolled their eyes every single time. And every morning it was a new story. I didn't eat a lot that night, or I don't know, I was feeling lightheaded, or maybe my immune system, it was anything besides the fact that maybe I'm an alcoholic. So my real authenticity and being genuine and transparent did not begin until the day I decided to go on LinkedIn and tell the world that I am 6 months sober and I got a breathalyzer in my car, people. And this is my life. And this is how I'm changing my company. And I'm telling you guys what, it was not easy, and I don't wish it on anybody. And I don't think I don't think just anybody should tell the world that they're in recovery or need to be open about it. I believe that my own recovery from a mental standpoint, from my own loving myself and taking time to recover, definitely the growth was stunted because I was quickly announcing to the world. However, I believe God put it on my heart to be quick about it, because I don't think, for me and my journey, and as a broadcaster, a storyteller, a PR person, I don't think I would have stayed sober if I didn't get it off my chest and tell everyone. I needed that personally. That's what I needed. Now, do I get online and tell people about my health, about my boyfriends? I don't have any, but if I had any, right, my relationships, or how about lack of relationships, right? Because that is something I struggle with. I have a really hard time being vulnerable on a personal level with relationships. I don't talk about that a lot. I don't talk about my family. I don't talk about things that I'm dealing with on a daily basis. That doesn't make me not transparent or not vulnerable. It just means that I am vulnerable in the lane. I stay in my lane, the lane of serving others while serving myself and being open about my struggles. If you go to church and you see the pastor constantly talk about how great things are and how easy life is now that he's found God and everything's perfect, you're going to at some point say, well, maybe I don't have God. Maybe I'm doing this wrong, and then walk away, right? I don't want that for the people who are following my journey. So you will see me get on social media and be vulnerable. Again, I don't try to be vulnerable. I'm just sharing my experience and saying, hey, everyone, my name's Cheri Garcia. I'm 1 year sober, and guess what? I want to drink, and I want to drink right now. And I somehow brought my company from a negative bank account to a multi-million-dollar revenue-making machine. and I have great friends now, and I lost 50 pounds. I feel great. I look great. But guess what? My mind is telling me I want to drink, and I hate feeling the way I feel right now. Just wanted to share that with everyone. Now, people who are also struggling with alcoholism can watch that video and say, okay, cool. She struggles too. Okay. And she's taking it one day at a time. So that's why authenticity is important. It's not just for yourself. It's for others to be inspired to continue on their journey. Because if you're not being authentic, then you're giving people the wrong idea of what it's like in the day-to-day life, and you're doing something worse. You're not inspiring people, you're discouraging people. So if you can't be authentic with yourself, if you don't love yourself enough for that yet, and I get it because it took me I'm just now starting to love myself. Know that authenticity is not just for yourself, it's for others as well.
Yeah. And this topic is so important because this goes so far beyond being vulnerable about an addiction or, specifically alcoholism or anything like that. We all, and I will say all,
everybody, yeah,
has that either imposter syndrome at some point, that self-worth. They have their own void. They may be filling it with other things. They may be terrified to share any part of that vulnerability, even if it's as simple as, man, I just started my business and, I really have no business. So go out there. And that's what I really want to share with folks, is that it's so important to open that up for yourself, own it, right? Here's where I am in my journey. And for those people watching, like you say, it's huge.
Yep.
Well, I told you, vulnerability saved my life. So in other ways than just posting on LinkedIn, vulnerability also saved my life, because if you're not vulnerable, let's say in a private setting, forget social media, forget your business. If you are not vulnerable to someone else, you're not going to receive the answers you need. You're just not, because you're not being true to yourself or authentic with someone else. So how can they help you? We just read something this morning in our meeting. December 15th. The word of the day was talking about that we have a wonderful opportunity to contribute to the well-being of the world. We all have a common problem, so we find a common answer, and that we are all uniquely equipped to help others with this same problem. What a wonderful world it would be if we took our own greatest problem and found the answer to it and spent the rest of our lives helping others find that same answer. And that is so true. That is so true.
And I think that's almost, as people listen to your story and see the journey that you've been on for years. This didn't start, even where it's going, didn't start just 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It's you during this process recognizing who you've been called to be and exactly what you just said, how you serve the world to the best of your ability. And so my question there, in that moment, when you became more authentic, more vulnerable, you shared more, did you see a change in the relationships around you and the authenticity that comes out of those? And also from clients, you're working with huge companies and huge 6-7 figure contracts. And so many people are afraid to share the things that they see, that they could be judged on. So did you see a change there?
Man, I'm so glad you asked that question, because as a PR person, a public relations marketing professional, don't you think that I questioned myself before I started speaking scripture on LinkedIn? Before I started talking about God on LinkedIn in 2020?
No, of course.
The same year Donald Trump is holding a Bible up as a prop.
Of course.
Come on. I was like, what am I doing? Why? But again, authenticity. I had to be authentic with myself and know that God delivered me from this addiction. And it was nothing short of a miracle. And I know that the Bible tells me that I need to give God all the glory. And I'm like, oh God, but I don't want to. I really, 99% of the things I post on LinkedIn, I'm telling you, I don't want to do it. And the way I make sure I stay authentic is when I shoot the video, if I have to stop and reshoot it, I'm not posting it. It's not for today. It's not coming from my heart. It's not coming from God. And then I don't rewatch it before I post it, because I know if I rewatch it, I'm going to find something wrong with it and I'm going to not post it. So, you know, yes, I was very, very afraid to post about God. But I knew that without recovery or God, I don't have anything anyway. So I saw it as it was easy for me. I already hit my rock bottom and all I had was sobriety and God. That's it. So what more can you take away from me? My car already got repoed. I mean, I didn't have anything. So I was like, well, I guess I'll go on the internet and say, God helped me through all this. And yeah, I will tell you that every single one of our clients, they are billion-dollar publicly traded companies. And guess what? Almost all of them, actually all of them, reached out because it was either the owner of the company who had a family member who also struggled with addiction, or he or she struggled with addiction themselves and they came to me with their story and why they want to work with me, or it was a faith-based organization.
Yep.
We had a faith-based organization reach out to us and sponsor us. And I told them, we are not a nonprofit. They wanted to give ongoing donation. I said, we are not a nonprofit. They said, it's okay. I said, you're not going to be able to make this a write-off. They said, it's okay. We want to support you. Wow. So we literally got sponsorships from faith-based companies because I was just, again, there was no trust me. If there was strategy to my authenticity, I definitely wouldn't have gone on LinkedIn and talked about the breathalyzer in my car I was about to get repoed, okay? There's no strategy in that. Just honesty.
But and that's
foolish honesty, to be honest. You know, if we look at it.
Yeah, but it's strength.
Talk to anybody about that. If I called Jason Croft and I said, Jason, I
got an idea.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on LinkedIn and I'm just going to tell everybody straight up, I'm going to get it off my chest. I have a breathalyzer in my car and I have to blow into it to start my car. And yeah, I'm going to tell everyone that I just got sober. You'd probably be like, probably not a good look, Cheri.
You're like, I'd be like, counterpoint. Yeah.
But that's the thing that I've seen. You know, I've got a coach, kind of life coach, and one of his biggest things was sharing about a struggle with pornography. And then he gets so many clients based off of that. I connected with him based off of that. And it's the things that people are hiding that are the biggest points of connection, because we all are dealing with the crap. All of us. It doesn't matter what the substance or the addiction is, because we all have it. Every pastor, every person. And so it's realizing that, man, maybe this thing that I'm hiding the most is actually the thing that allows me to serve the best, to serve the most, to connect people.
I'm very reluctant to even give this tip of advice, or it's not even advice, it's an experience share, because I don't want people doing it for the wrong reasons or having the wrong heart for vulnerability. But I can tell you, you know, I went into making these posts with the risk of knowing that I could potentially have nobody want to do business with me. And I was like, I don't care. I don't need anything anyway. I've lost it all. I have God in sobriety and nobody can take that away from me. So here it goes. I'm going to pour out my guts. But what I've realized, even though I was scared, it was going to take away all my connections and who's going to give me business if I can't drink with them and blah, 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 blah. Because I used to drink with some very powerful people and have a blast. I assume I had a blast. I don't remember most of the nights. But I realized that because of my vulnerability and because 1 in 4 people struggle with alcoholism or a criminal record, the types of people I was trying to get in touch with or trying to get an answer from, those same types of people with the credibility that I was looking for, of people I wanted to work with, reached out to me and got vulnerable with me and said, guess what? Thanks to your posts, I'm now 6 months sober. I'm now 9 months sober. I'm now 1 year sober. I'm like, holy cow, you're like my idol. Like, oh my God. I inspired you. Are you kidding? Like, I've been trying to email your assistant for years. So it's like, it's just, you don't know what's on the other side until you walk through it. And honestly, you know, if you become authentic with yourself, and if you trust God or your gut or your higher power, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, then don't ask people for advice, especially people whose shoes you don't want to live in. Everyone's going to give you advice out of their own projected fears. Yep. If I would have asked anyone advice on any of these things, they would have told me hell no. I had to listen to my inner voice, my inner child. I had to listen to God, and I had to be authentic with myself and move forward despite what consequences could have been. And I did it in a way where I wasn't looking for a reward. I wasn't looking for results, because I promise you I didn't think many would come from it. Now that I've got the ball rolling and I got momentum, now I do know that posting a video, being vulnerable about different topics, isn't as scary as it used to be. And there are times that I do put strategy around my post. If it's national, I don't know, National Alcoholism Day or National this day, or if I know we have an event coming up, if I know Christmas is coming up, I'll do a post about loneliness around the holidays, right? That's when, so I guess the whole point of this video and what I'm trying to say is authenticity comes first, strategy comes second. If strategy comes before authenticity, then there's no way authenticity and strategy can even be in the same sentence if authenticity is coming last.
Yeah, and again, I want to bring this back for folks too that maybe aren't struggling with anything. You know, certainly nothing that deep or difficult or anything like that. This is still about standing in your truth and standing in what you do believe in. And when you made those first posts, it wasn't just the vulnerability, it was the confidence and the assuredness that what I'm sharing is true. And so that can apply to what you do in your business, what you believe in your life. When you stand in that truth, and you don't care about the consequences, people are drawn to that. That we want that from people. We want it from our leaders. We want it from people we do business with. We want it from our friends. And I think there's such a lack of it, right? That it does stand out. And we do have videos around this topic because so few people truly stand in their truth and share that out. And it's so powerful.
To give I can give a quick few hard and fast tips or rules that I follow for myself when I make posts, because these posts are very sensitive in nature. And the other thing you guys have to remember is when I'm making a post about second chances and the fact that we hire people who have committed murder, because we do, I have to remember to be sensitive to people who may have lost a family member because somebody currently in prison, shot and killed their mother, their father, or something, right? So there are a few rules, I guess I could say, that I follow whenever I post, and especially when it's a more authentic post. One of them is I try to never say 10 tips on doing this or what you should do or how you should. Like, I try not to do the should thing and here's how to do this. Here's how. I have learned from my mentor, and it's been a process to catch myself on it, is to always use my I statements. So I'll make a post how it freely comes off my hands first, and it will be like 10 tips on staying sober, what you should avoid during the holidays, right? And then I'll read it and I'll say, okay, let me change this. My journey to getting sober during the holidays, things I do to avoid drinking. Now I've made it personal. I'm not preaching at anybody. I'm not talking at anybody. I'm not telling them how to live. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm not assuming that my journey is their journey. I'm not assuming I know what's best for them. So anytime that I feel like my experience can serve others, I make sure that I stay humble and I practice humility by always speaking about how I have experienced this journey, because I don't know anything. I could drink tomorrow. So I don't want to be the person on LinkedIn telling everybody how to get sober. I don't want that pressure. It's not for me.
Sure.
It's not for me to have the pressure to tell everyone how to live. For me, I'm just letting people know how I live and what's changed in my life. So maybe it could benefit them, or maybe God could speak through me and serve somebody.
Yeah, and the best storytellers too put that out there in a way that we see ourselves in it. So it's going to work.
Practice it. I'm telling you, it is the greatest exercise. It is so hard. It, like, any post that I post, I'm like, oh, it makes it so, that's what makes it vulnerable. That's where vulnerability comes. That's how you test your vulnerability meter. Change your post to me or I instead of here's what people think or what you should do. Like, it gets you out of it and you're like, oh, I'm Miss on my high horse telling everybody how to live because I got it all handled and I have it under control. But man, when you start saying here's how I face insecurity, oh, it's so hard to post. It's so much easier to be like, here's how you should face insecurity, right?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
That's
Man.
incredible.
But this has been phenomenal.
It's a tough rule to follow. I hate it. It's a rule I put on myself, and I hate the rule. But it at the end of the day relieves me of pressure for acting as somebody who knows it all, because I don't. I am a student for the rest of my life.
But it's also not out of, again, it's mindset's all the difference. It's not out of avoidance. It's not out of taking that ownership of speaking of authority. It's actually doing the opposite. And like, I've done this. You don't have to do any of it. This isn't about you, but here's what I've done. So when you hear my words, you know it's true because it's my experience and I'm sharing that out. That's big.
And 9 times out of 10, and you could probably see this in yourself as well, when I post about something, it means that I'm currently struggling with it. It's because, or else I wouldn't be posting it if it wasn't an area in my life that I need to talk about. So that's where I would caution people on the whole transparency, vulnerability, genuine thing, is be honest with yourself. Are you posting this because it's a current struggle in your life? For me, every single thing I post, it is because it's a struggle in my life. So I'm going to do the best that I can to refrain from preaching. Yep. Because I know I'm struggling with it, and I'm messed up every single day. I don't know how to do this, but I'm letting y'all know how I feel because I just want others who are also secretly, there's a lot of people suffering in silence. I want others on this journey to be able to see the whole well-rounded, day-to-day of recovery. It's not just, oh, now I'm skinny, now I'm pretty, my skin is glowing, I have God, and my business makes millions of dollars. Like, it's great. No,
snap of a finger, right?
I want people to understand that I'm scared. I have financial insecurity like nobody's business. Like, I won't even buy myself a new car because I'm scared it's going to get repoed again, despite how well of a year that we've had. I still live in an apartment because I'm scared to buy a house because I don't know if my business is going to continue to do well. I have depression like nobody's business. I have anxiety. Like I have to work very, very hard every single day. I have to begin my day a certain way. I have to do certain things every single day, or I feel like I'm running downhill with a boulder following me if I don't begin my days in a certain way. So it takes work. I don't just wake up and say, I'm pretty now, I'm successful now, everybody should live this wonderful life.
That's what I say every morning. That's my post on LinkedIn every day.
Well,
that's what I do.
Then get on LinkedIn and start teaching people how to wake up that way, because 99.9% of us don't wake up with positive thoughts because we live in a society that just molds us to think negatively.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And one of my last questions, I mean, in the essence of being vulnerable, one of the purposes of what we do and why we love talking to people and business owners is trying to identify ways that our community can come together and help. So in that mindset, what is one thing, maybe with your business, let's say with the business, that you are struggling with right now, and what is that?
Well, Cornbread Hustle is a staffing agency for second chances. So the best way ever that the community could come together is just spread the word about second chance hiring. If you work for someone, ask your boss, hey, why don't we hire people who committed felonies? Like, have we ever looked into that policy? Or if you are the boss, reach out to me and ask me questions. As you guys can probably imagine, I'm pretty open and transparent. So company owners and HR people can ask me any questions and it does not offend me. And some of the questions can be pretty funny, like, I mean, it's natural to have a fear and to be like, hey, so, do you think, like, should we hire people with nonviolent drug crimes or like jump all the way in and hire somebody with a murder conviction? I mean, it's natural to have these fears and ask these questions. So I just like to open up conversation and provide education and awareness. And we also have so many recovery meetings here at the office. I am about to put something out on LinkedIn where I've brought together 100 professionals on LinkedIn who have 1 year sober or more, ready to lend a hand out to people who need help. So just community, period, the end. Anybody who's looking to have just more of light from within, like getting that, I invented a tanning bed and I realized that I was always seeking sunlight from the outside, right? But getting that sunshine from within, and being able to be a light for others. Anybody who desires that, I want to hear from you, because I can't do this by myself. There's so many people, like, you walk by people all day, every day that are battling with demons, even if it's this seemingly smallest thing. Everything's relative. People have codependency issues. People are in relationships they're miserable in, but they don't know how to leave because they've never had love before and they don't know what it looks like to be loved the right way. There's people that struggle every single day with different things, and all we need as human beings is to be vulnerable with another human being, so we can, just like I read in that book a second ago, find the answers from others who are also struggling with the same things, who are willing to be vulnerable. The business somehow is doing well. The less I work and the more I focus on myself, somehow the bank account keeps growing. I don't understand it. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll try working 1 hour today. Dang. Like, I mean, the more I work on myself and the more that I focus on community and serving others, things just fall into place. And so for us, anything anybody can do is just reach out if you need help, because it helps us help others.
Perfect.
Fantastic. I encourage everyone listening, watching now, well into the future, to do just that. It's huge. It is a big step to kind of overcome mentally, to understand both sides of this, how your business can benefit from a lot of these hires, how you can change lives. It's huge. It's a big topic. Cheri, thanks so much for being on. This has been just fantastic. Good to reconnect. Amazing topic, and I certainly applaud that vulnerability that you show every day.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel hyper. I hope it comes off as passion.
It does.
It does. It does.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so
We'll see you all next time.
Thanks for listening. You've learned what's working on the front lines of business. Now it's time to get to work. Apply to the Strategy and Action group on Facebook to learn more and for a chance to connect with the guests on this show. Join us next time for Strategy and Action.